What is up, guys? Sage here, and today I'm going to be covering what is known to be one of the three main branches of jutsu, that is Genjutsu. Genjutsu is probably the least seen of the three, as Naruto was even told only 1 in every 7 people ever have the yin affinity that allows them to use Genjutsu at all. Genjutsu is any jutsu that falls under the category of illusionary technique. What 99% of all these techniques have in common is that they hijack or control a user's chakra pathway system, specifically the cerebral nervous system. By controlling the chakra of the cerebral nervous system, you can essentially control what senses the brain thinks it's receiving. Although all 5 senses can be controlled by Genjutsu, usually it's just 1 or 2. I think that this is where I should dive into the 1% that doesn't fall into this sort of broad category. The jutsu that I'm talking about is the Izanagi. The Izanagi is the Forbidden S-rank Genjutsu of the Uchiha clan. It's a Genjutsu that makes an idea get written into the real world. By using it, it doesn't mean that you're some powerful Hokage level character like Naruto's wind-style Rasen Shuriken or Lady Fifth's 100 Healings Jutsu. This is because it's a one-off, and really any Mangekyo Sharingan has this innate ability. You can use it once, and then you're permanently blind in that eye. Switching eyes will not help you see out of that eye socket again, unless the eye that you're switching to is one of the Renegon. Now that we got the side effects covered, let's talk about what the Izanagi is and why it doesn't fall under this broad category. With most Genjutsu, there's a target who you're controlling or manipulating in some way. You with me so far? And with Izanagi, you're manipulating the field of reality around you. Particularly, you can erase an unwanted outcome and replace it with a more desired outcome. Like, you could erase, I don't know, your death. Danzo of the Leaf was prepared to use this against Sasuke 10 times. I wouldn't say that Danzo was the most creative at using the Izanagi. He just pretty much blasted every time he died. He would just rewrite reality. Madara definitely wore this better. In the historical Madara Uchiha versus Hashirama Senju fight, Madara implanted the Izanagi into his eye to activate under the circumstance of his death. So he didn't release it immediately. Madara actually woke up in his coffin. Yeah, you can do that. Itachi once implanted the Amaterasu into Sasuke's eye for the event that Sasuke ever got the chance to lay his eyes on Obito. The Izanagi is a mock version of Six Sages' creation of all things jutsu. Hagoromo used this when he was near death to birth the 9-tailed beast from the chakra of the 10 tails. Anyway, I've been talking about the Izanagi too much. It's Genjutsu Explains, not Dustin Explains Izanagi for 12 minutes. Just know that this is like the granddaddy to all Genjutsu. No matter how OP you think the Kodo Uematsu Kami or the Tsukuyomi is, it's nothing compared to this. Well, I guess you could say that there is a better Genjutsu, and it was actually specifically made or created to deal with the Izanagi. It is called the Izanami. It was created to act faster than the potential Izanagi user, and it traps them in an imblockable genjutsu where the victim is in an infinite loop of using the Izanagi. It is unescapable until the user is conditioned to refrain from using the Izanagi. I'm guessing the psychological effects must be pretty severe, especially for the stubborn. The Izanagi also has the same side effect of making the wielder blind. So if you ask me, the Izanagi is way cooler. I'm not going to lose an eye to humble a person or humble a village of people. Okay, now let's get back to the 99% of genjutsu that exist. There are really 6 or 7 forms or purposes of illusionary techniques that I can think of, and some genjutsu have multiple forms or purposes. The first that I'd like to explain is probably the most simplest. It's just a momentary illusion. It is meant to distract your enemy. This is really just a D or C rank genjutsu. These are good at getting the upper advantage in a combat situation. The next is meant to trap or paralyze the user. These either take a while to cast or take a fair amount of chakra. Really, there's some sort of stipulation to these when it comes to paralyzing or trapping. I know the great Toad Sages, Shima and Fukusaku, took a while to get their vocals in sync and will also give away their location. I guess the third way to use genjutsu would be similar to the first, but instead of it being a momentary illusion, it's more of a persistent illusion, and the goal is to have the target lose their path or get lost. This is good for leaving a genjutsu trap or if someone's pursuing you, which is seen in multiple of the Chunin exams where the goal is to make it to the tower or outside of the forest. There's so many times that this type of genjutsu was used that I shouldn't have to bring up any examples. You already know what I'm talking about. Another form of genjutsu is to take control of another person. This mind-controlling form of genjutsu can be seen when Itachi was summoned by Kabuto during the Iru Tensei jutsu. And for those of you who are not familiar, earlier, the Ito Tensei is when you resurrect a dead person and they're under your complete and total control. Hashirama created it, Orochimaru stole it, and Kabuto perfected it. And still, it wasn't enough to make Itachi follow a direct order. Why is that, you ask? Well, Itachi placed Genjutsu on himself, specifically the Koto Uematsu Kami. That did not reflect Kabuto's wishes, but it made it so that Itachi had to follow one sole purpose, and that purpose was to protect the Leaf Village. Since Kabuto was planning on decimating everything, Itachi had no choice but to kill his creator, a feat that was thought to be impossible of the Ito Tensei, unless you knew the hand signs to release the Ito Tensei Jutsu, which Madara knew, but that's another story. I guess it makes sense if the Jutsu can control a tailed beast, then I guess it could beat the safety mechanism and Ito Tensei. Another way to mess up an enemy is just to barrage their psyche with so much mental damage that they cannot recover from it. Genjutsu isn't thought to kill people being used alone by itself, but Itachi's Tsukuyomi would have killed Kakashi if it, or at least left him in a coma if it wasn't for Tsunade being so skilled at medical ninjutsu. When you're in combat, strategy means a lot, so there will be plenty of instances where you can plant an idea into somebody's head, like when Kakashi completely mindfucked Zabuza, or when Sasuke thought that Itachi wanted his eyes. I guess that's not really a genjutsu form, but a strategy of using it. And lastly, I don't think that this is a way to defeat an enemy, but I seriously think that this could be used for any or after a combat situation, but not just for that, but it could be used for villagers too. It's just pretty much a genjutsu to get away from reality. Before anybody tells me stupid, I'd like to just hear in my defense. Now, I'm not saying waste a shit ton of chakra mid-battle because a friend's dying, but for medical ninja who come after the battle, and some people can't or don't want to be saved, the damage is just too extreme. It could be good for morale to know that dying slow doesn't have to suck, and that there is relief in genjutsu. Most genjutsu needs a delivery method, either by sound, smell, sights, that makes contact to the victim in order for the jutsu caster to be successful. I could give multiple on multiple examples on each, but let's just keep it short and give you one example of each. Non-Uchiha members, even beasts, use genjutsu. For example, when Jiraiya fought 6 Paths of Pain, he summoned Shima and Fakusaku to help cut down the time it takes to get him into Sage Mode. They ended up being a huge asset. They ended up taking 3 Paths of Pain out at once using their demonic illusion chant, which sends the target's mind to a place on Mount Miyaboku which allows their body to be vulnerable. This is through sound. It's pretty much OP as fuck. Another OP jutsu, this is a visual jutsu called the Leaf Style Willow. This is a genjutsu in the arsenal of, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Kosuke Muraboshi. Yeah, I know the last name is Muraboshi. I remember that from actually watching the episodes. He's the Eternal Genin, if you remember. He pretty much waves a sword, and the sight makes the enemy hallucinate. The hallucination's pretty much many swords coming at him. It's just one of them C or D rank genjutsu that momentarily catches somebody off guard. Lastly, we got the smell, which was used by Sen. Sen, I don't know if you remember Sen. There was a side character from the Shira storyline. Shira was a taijutsu user that grew up bullied like Lee, but he didn't have a trainer like Gai Sensei. Instead of being taught any of the 8 gates, he had to make his own physical enhancing technique, which he called the 7 Heavenly Breaths. It was a breathing technique. His teammate Sen was an adept genjutsu user, and during the tuning exams in the Sand Village tuning exams, she rigged a cacti to release pollen that sent teams walking in circles. Genjutsu, now this is breaking out of genjutsu. What you have to know is sometimes it's just as hard breaking out of as it is to initiate a genjutsu. Some S rank genjutsu you cannot break out of. Some D and C rank genjutsu there is no breaking out of because it either works or it doesn't. It's just a momentary distraction. Jiraiya taught everything to Naruto there is to know about breaking a full-fledged genjutsu early in Shippuden. The first thing you're going to need to do when you realize you're in a genjutsu is you want to disrupt your chakra flow. Sometimes by realizing that you're in a genjutsu, it breaks. Red chili pepper bombs worked on genjutsu that paralyzed Naruto, but I don't think you'll have that on you, so do it the Shikamaru way and just break a finger. But being honest, being able to break your finger or macing yourself won't pull you out of a genjutsu if you can't break out using chakra control. For those in cases where Shikamaru broke his finger and Naruto used chili pepper gas to get out of it, they just got lucky. Really, the only other way of getting released is by a friend, and if you can't do that and it's a S or A rank genjutsu, good luck getting out of that, bud. All you can do is really pray. Anything else would just be useless. Sasuke got out of Itachi's Tsukuyomi once. Yeah, it was real cool because Itachi let him. If you made it this far, odds are you liked what I do here. So go ahead and leave a comment, like the video. If you really like the channel, subscribe to me on YouTube or like my Facebook page. I hope you guys take this info with you to the next Boruto episodes, or you can explain to all your friends about Genjutsu or what have you. With that being said, release.